Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3836 BN. Today's date is February 9th, 2026, and the title of the episode is Patriots are in trusted positions. Time to show the world the truth. This is not a game. You know what's interesting? Every day there's a new beauty gimmick taking over social media. It seems like people are wearing 10 different mask tapes and patches to bed just to wake up glowing. But in 2026, we know that glow is just trapped sweat that disappears by noon. If you want skin that actually stays firm, you have to stop obsessing over the surface and start loading up your collagen internally. This is why Aegis Multi-Collagen is a non-negotiable part of my day. Unlike those viral gimmicks, Aegis Multi-Collagen provides 5 premium types of collagen that works from inside out to help reduce wrinkle volume, bring back my youthful glow, and restore my skin's natural bounce. It's flavorless, clump-free, and specifically designed to be highly bioavailable, so it actually reaches my cells. Since I started, my skin has the natural hydration and elasticity that no night mask or face tape could ever replicate. To celebrate Valentine's, get 51% off Aegis Multi-Collagen at healthwithx22.com. Every order includes a glow-up bundle with free VIP coaching for life, the 14 Foods for Amazing Skin ebook, and free shipping. Plus, it's all backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee. Head to healthwithx22.com now to claim your 51% discount before it expires, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, they cannot stop what is happening right now because every step of the way, who's in control? The Patriots are. And the Patriots are in trusted positions, which means the Patriots are basically pushing the agenda, pushing the narrative. So think about it. Let's say we have Kash Patel in the FBI. We have Pam Bondi in the DOJ. We have Kristi Noem in DHS, Tulsi Gabbard in the ODNI, and we have Ratcliffe in the CIA. They are in control of their agencies. They are the ones who are pushing the narrative. If Kash says we're arresting these people because they're criminals, well, that's what the people are going to hear. If Pam Bondi says we're going after certain individuals and we're going to prosecute them and we're going to put them behind bars, that's what the people are going to hear. There's nothing the fake news can do. Now, they could try to fight against it and say, oh, this isn't right. But the people are going to see the evidence. They're going to see the documents. They're going to see the truth. Even with Epstein, even with the money laundering, even with Uranium One, even with everything, people are going to see the truth. Because again, what has the deep state lost? They lost the ability to control the narrative. The fake news is the bullhorn of what the deep state wants them to say. They run cover. Now, if you don't have the agencies behind the fake news, it's very, very difficult to control everything. Now, let me give you a perfect example. If the fake news says, oh, we have evidence, there's a whistleblower, and they're coming after Tulsi Gabbard, and she's been hiding the evidence, keeping it in a safe, and the D's come out and they say this. Well, guess what? Do they control the narrative? No, they don't. It completely and utterly falls apart. The same thing with everything. If they talk about Epstein, they're not the ones who are going to produce the classified information. If they talk about what's happening out in the Middle East or out in Venezuela or out in Ukraine, yeah, they can have the headlines. They can try to convince the people. But in the end, what's going to happen? All of it's going to be debunked. I mean, look at the illegals. We have Homeland Security. Every time the fake news comes out with something, every time the D's try to push a certain story, what happens? It's countered right away because they do not have the narrative. We, the people, Trump, those patriots in these positions, they have the control. So when we say, oh, the Patriots are in control, we're serious about it. The Patriots are in control. And what is Trump doing right now? He's showing the world the truth, slowly but surely. So people are like, just tell us all. Well, first of all, if you remember from The Matrix, if you tell somebody everything, you just dump all the information on someone, they cannot process it. They cannot handle it. It's very, very difficult to do. So what you do is you slowly bring it out. You bring the truth out. And you want this to happen. Why? Because what do you think the fake news is going to do? What do you think the D's are going to do? They're going to lie about it. They're going to tell you that's not real. What Trump is telling you is fake. Believe us. Believe us. And you know what happens? they're the ones who turn out to be the liars every single time. I mean, think about it. They were pushing for body cams this entire time because think about it. When they were in control of DHS, when they were in control of the FBI, when they were in control of all this, during this period of time, what could they do with the body cams? Could they manipulate it? Of course they could. Could they manipulate the videos? They did it with the bomber for the January 6th insurrection that they created. They made it fuzzy. It wasn't clear. They couldn't find the person. They can cut out different parts of the video. So yes, going back in time, body cameras were great. Oh, see, we were right. Now, when you don't have control over the body cameras that the police are wearing, you don't have control over the video. And they're starting to realize this. Actually, Chuck Schumer now is freaking out about it. So every step of the way, what is Trump doing? He's showing the world the truth. You see, once we got into position, once we're able to control all of these different agencies, we have the ability to bypass the fake news. Yes, they put out the headlines. Yes, the D's tried to stop it. Yes, they tried to put out stories. But again, they don't have the upper hand. We, the people, do. Trump definitely does. And no matter what they say, could be debunked in a matter of seconds. And that is what we're seeing right now. So what we're seeing is Trump now slowly but surely backing the D's, the deep state players, back into a corner. Think about all the lies that they have told going all the way back from the time Trump came down the escalator. Now think about what Trump is going to do. The people now can see the lies that they're telling. He's going to go back in time and he's going to show them that they've been lying since the beginning and even before Trump. And once the people see this, the people are not going to forget. The people are not going to say, well, maybe it's not true, maybe it isn't, because the truth as it comes out will be reinforced over and over and over. And every time somebody questions something, more truth comes out. So the game that we're playing, which is not a game, is going to be won by we the people and President Trump in the end, because Trump now has control. So think about what happens when he gets control of the House and the Senate. Think about what happens when he's able to shut down the other parts of the government that the deep state players control. What do you think is going to happen when he's able to reverse certain laws and the fake news is no longer the bullhorn and the protector of the deep state players? What happens then? Think about this for a second. Think about the position that we the people are in right now. Now, yes, the deep state players, they're going to try to stop Trump every step of the way. They're going to try to still brainwash the people of this country. They're going to try to keep their cult in line. They don't want them to wake up. And they're going to do this every step of the way. I mean, when you look at the Super Bowl, this is one area where they try to do this. Yes, they've taken over sports. They've taken over the Olympics. And they're trying to convince these athletes. They're trying to use the halftime show to keep their brainwashed people focused on it. And what's very interesting, I really don't watch any type of TV at all. And when I turned it on for the first time just to see what was going on, you could see the brainwashing and the programming so easily when you step away from it. When you turn it on, you see the commercials, you see the shows, you see everything that's going on. It is so clear that it's absolutely unbelievable. You see, the people that have been watching TV, watching all the major networks, they can't see it because they're in the monkey house. And you can't see outside of it. But when you remove yourself from it and you stay away from it for a little while, and then you turn it on, you could see it as clear as day. And when you look at the Super Bowl, you could see it as clear as day of what they were trying to do. They were trying to push a political message. They were trying to brainwash the public. They're trying to program the public. They're trying to keep their cult in line. And Trump, he has a couple words about this, and he says this on Truth. The Super Bowl halftime show is absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever. It makes no sense. Is an affront to the greatness of America and doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence. Nobody understands a word this guy is saying. And the dancing is disgusting, especially for young children that are watching throughout the USA and all over the world. This show is just a slap in the face to our country, which is setting new standards and records every single day, including the best stock market 401k in history. There is nothing inspirational about this mess of a halftime show, and watch. It will get great reviews from the fake news media because they haven't got a clue of what is going on in the real world. And by the way, the NFL should immediately replace this ridiculous new kickoff rule. Make America Great Again, President DJT. And he's absolutely right. This whole thing was one gigantic brainwashing psyop that they always use. And when you look at it for over the many, many years, at least since 2019, they haven't had any real white performers whatsoever. Matt Walsh put this out and said, Jay-Z took over producing the Super Bowl halftime show in 2019. Since then, white performers have been banned from the show. There hasn't been a single white headliner at the Super Bowl in 7 years, with the lone exception of Eminem, who performed alongside Dr. Dre, Snoop, Kendrick Lamar, and other black artists. And he's absolutely right. They've done this on purpose. And you could see that this entire message was political. Alex Berenson put this out and said, any legacy media outlet that says that Bad Bunny's show wasn't political is showing its own insane political bias. It ended with a migrant caravan crossing the border. Not a metaphor, the actual visual. Absolutely. And what's very interesting is you could see that the halftime show, a lot of people decided not to look at it, not to watch it. Rich Barrett, the People pundit, put this out and said, Google trend search interests over the last 24 hours comparing halftime show, Turning Point halftime show, NFL halftime show, and TPUSA halftime show. Worth noting, halftime show is not specific. I also added Super Bowl halftime show in the second image. Wow, folks. When you look at the graph, you could see TPUSA, well, it rules over the halftime show of Bad Bunny. But of course, you know the fake news, what are they going to do? They're going to make it seem like, oh, this was the best halftime show ever. Everybody was watching it. Now, what's very interesting is that TMZ, they decided, you know what, we're going to show America. We're going to show them that everyone wanted to watch Bad Bunny. Nobody wanted to watch Kid Rock, the TPUSA halftime show. So they put up a poll. Who had the better halftime show, Bad Bunny or Kid Rock? Well, I'm sure they're like, oh, crap. This didn't go the way we thought it was going to go. 35.3% said Bad Bunny. 64.7% said Kid Rock. So far, 365,000 people voted, and there's 4 hours left as of right now, which I do believe that Kid Rock and the TPUSA halftime show is going to stay strong. And once again, you could see America, yeah, they might have tuned in for the NFL, but they tuned out for the halftime show. And yes, the streaming on YouTube and Rumble and many other platforms, they got millions and millions of views. But you have to remember, the deep state players, they use all of this to brainwash the American people. And what's good about this is that the American people are waking up. And actually, if you look at the crowd in the NFL, they weren't dancing and cheering, and they look confused, stunned. First of all, it wasn't in English. Our official language is English in the United States. And ask yourself a simple question. Why would they put someone who doesn't speak English on a football game where most of your demographic are going to be probably middle America and those people that speak English? So once again, they really don't know their demographic. They don't understand who the people are that are watching this. And when you look at the crowd at the NFL, those people are very, very confused. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what was being said, and it made no sense whatsoever. And once again, you could see that they're continually trying to push their agenda and trying to control the narrative, but it's not working on we the people. And every time they try to do this with the Grammys, with the Oscars and everything else, it continually falls apart. Just like what they're trying to do with Kristi Noem, where, of course, they're trying to impeach her. They're trying to get rid of Tulsi Gabbard, because you have to remember, Tulsi Gabbard is getting very, very close to the election rigging system, and she's going to produce this and show the entire country the truth about this and who lied about it. Kristi Noem is going after all the illegals, those people that were brought into this country so they could cheat in the election. They can money launder and do everything else with these individuals. And what's very interesting is that there's a fake video going around, and it's saying that the ATF is basically taping letters onto the door of FFL holders. That's the federal firearm license holders. Amuse put this out and said, Democrats are distributing fake notices from DHS Secretary Noem to federal firearm license holders that ICE will be confiscating their guns. ATF just called every FFL holder with an automated message to alert them that the letters are a hoax. So once again, you can see this information that's going around. You can see the deep state players and those people that are told to push this type of information. Well, it's being debunked very, very quickly and easily. Now, Trump, he is not going along, and his administration, they are not going along with Judge Boasberg's order. Tony Sarugo put this out and said, Trump admin refuses to comply with the immigration court order. It will not comply with federal court order demanding due process for 252 Venezuelan migrants deported to a maximum security prison in El Salvador last March under the 1798 Alien Enemies Act. The Justice Department made the position clear in a new filing, setting up a collision course with the U.S. District Judge James Boasberg and a near certain return to the Supreme Court. And yes, the Supreme Court's going to have to rule, and Trump has the authority to do this. Judge James Boasberg does not have the authority to stop him. So once again, what is Trump doing? He's locking everything in. He's making sure that he gets all the rulings he needs, because when the time comes to push this and to accelerate the process, there'll be no blocks whatsoever. And again, this is going to accelerate as we lead up to the midterms, and it will accelerate after the midterms, because you have to remember, even when we win the midterms and we have the Senate and we have the House, yes, we can impeach, but it's not going to happen that quickly. So these judges are going to try to stop Trump every step of the way, and they're probably going to go into overdrive. So why not get all the rulings you possibly can against these individuals? And this way you could say, no, we got a Supreme Court ruling. We don't have to listen to you. Oh, no, there's another Supreme Court ruling. We don't have to listen to you. That's what Trump is doing right now. So you could see that every step of the way, everything the deep state players are trying to do right now, it's going to fail. And Trump is actually trapping them in all of this. And soon the judicial branch will be out of the control of the deep state players and back into the control of we the people. And that's what this is all about. But you can see every step of the way, the D's, they're trying to continually brainwash the people that people are getting kidnapped. They're kidnapping citizens. They're kidnapping your next door neighbors, your family members. No, they're taking away those criminals that came to this country illegally. Those people that have committed crimes in this country. They're being deported. They're not being kidnapped. Kidnapped, you don't see them again. There's ransom. Actually, Trump administration is actually saying, listen, we will give you money to actually leave the country. And if they don't take the money, they are then deported to their own country. They're put on a flight and they go back to where they were born. Think about that for a second. They came in here illegally. They're criminals. And we, the people, are flipping the bill to send them back. They used our money to bring in the criminals, and now we're sending the criminals away. But look what Reid Hoffman put out. It's a video, a commercial, put out by Real Democrat PAC, and Wall Street Apes put this out. And it was put out by the Progressive Action Fund, which is funded by Reid Hoffman. It shows two individuals, a man and a woman, and it shows people in black with black masks take the woman away. And he says, what are you doing? And there's an older gentleman standing there saying that we are the Republican Party. We're kidnapping your girlfriend and we're taking her away. And he says, well, she's a citizen. It doesn't matter. She looks like one of them. So this is the message that they're putting out right now. And think about who's driving this. Well, it's Reid Hoffman. Wasn't that the guy who visited Epstein's island? Isn't that the guy that is in the Epstein files? Kaneko the Great put this out and said, is this Reid Hoffman on Jeffrey Epstein's island sitting next to Jeffrey Epstein? Starting to seem that way, doesn't it? Very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we could see is that, yes, some of the information in the Epstein files, we know they're complete and utterly fake. All the D's that are pushing for it, when you see Stephen King pushing for it, you know they want certain information to be put out there. Because, again, they probably have fake photos, fake information that they really want to be put out there. Remember, what I do believe they're doing is they're trying to muddy the water. If that information is fake, then the rest must be fake. Now, remember, they tried to control this from the beginning They wanted to drip this out. They wanted the headlines. And basically, Trump kind of trapped them in all this. So the second part of this is to say, listen, if Trump is saying that's fake, and this is fake again with Elon, and this is fake with Lutnick and everything else, then everything else must be fake. And they're trying to muddy the water with this. But again, we're going to find out which is fake and which is real. Yes, there's a way to detect. There's a way to find out which is which. And what's very interesting is that Mary Nafal put this out and says, I still cannot get over the fact that someone sent Epstein a photo of a 10-year-old and their name is redacted. So there's an email and allegedly there's a photo. Of course, you're not seeing the photo, but the name is redacted. So I wonder whose name. Now, is this a fake document or is this a real document? That is very, very interesting. But today, Ghislaine Maxwell was supposed to testify, and it seems that she decided to plead the fifth. Now, that's very, very interesting. Mary Nafal put this out and said, Ghislaine Maxwell played a very central role in creating the Clinton Global Initiative. Newly released documents show Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't just orbiting the Clinton world. She helped build one of Bill Clinton's signature post-presidency projects. Maxwell wired $1 million in 2004 to pay for the first Clinton Global Initiative Conference, took part in budget discussions, and told the Justice Department last year she had a very central role in setting it all up. She said President Clinton was my friend, not Epstein's friend, and revealed she last saw Clinton at dinner in L.A. sometime between 2016 and 2018, years after allegations against her had surfaced publicly. The emails also show Maxwell and Doug Bann, Clinton's top aide, at the time exchanging flirtatious messages where she complained of boo-boo-itis and needed a boo-boo fix. Meanwhile, Clinton's spokesman insists he knew nothing about Epstein's crimes and cut contact before the 2006 indictment. So that's very, very interesting. So do you really believe Clinton had no knowledge or wasn't friends with Epstein? I don't think so. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell says she will clear Trump's name of any wrongdoing as it pertains to Epstein if Trump grants her clemency. How about Ghislaine Maxwell tell everyone everything that actually went on? And then maybe after she testifies, Trump will then pardon her. Why would Trump pardon her before she testifies unless they've come to an agreement? But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. But think about what has happened right now since the Epstein files have come out. Now, if this part of the information was fake, these people would not resign whatsoever. So keep an eye on those people that are resigning and those people who are sitting there saying, I'm not going to resign because that's fake information. So we know that Mandelson out in the UK, Peter Mandelson, he decided to resign because it was shown that he worked with Epstein. He sent money back and forth to Epstein, and that's very, very interesting. And now we have Starmer's communication director, Tim Allen, said he was standing down to allow a new team to be built around the prime minister. Now, also, his information is in this. So that is very, very interesting. So Starmer is somehow, some way involved because his people that orbit him, they're also involved. And then we have Jack Lang, France's former culture minister, resigned after his name appeared over 600 times in the Epstein files. So that is very, very interesting. Elon Musk responded to this and says, and another one down, but still no arrests. So how many people have resigned so far? Well, we have Brad Karp, chairman of the Paul Weiss Law Firm, David Ross, chair of the MFA Art Practice Program, School of Visual Arts, New York, Mislav Lejazak, National Security Advisor, Slovakia, Joanne Rubinstein, President, Swedish UN Refugee Agency, Peter Mandelson, Morgan McSweeney, Chief of Staff, Downing Street, UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Mona Juul, Ambassador to Jordan, which is Norway, Jack Lang of France, Head of Arab World Institute, former Culture Minister, and Lawrence Summers, Advisory Board Member, OpenAI, and other posts. So since the information came out, these people have resigned. As more and more information comes out, we're going to see more people resign. And think about and watch all those people that don't resign. the ones that push back and say, this is fake. So far, Elon has said that, Trump has said that, and others have said that, and they have not resigned from their posts, which I find very, very interesting. Now, another very interesting thing out of the Epstein files is that Epstein, before the FBI opened the child trafficking case against Epstein in 2018, he ordered 55 gallons of containers full of sulfuric acid to his private island. 50 Shades of Way put this out and said, on the same exact day that the FBI opened a child sex trafficking case against Epstein in 2018, he ordered half a dozen 55-gallon containers full of sulfuric acid to his private island. It could be a coincidence, but what are the odds? On the same day, was he tipped off? Now, a lot of people are saying, well, he used the sulfuric acid to dispose of the bodies. Now, think about this. If he ordered it the same day the FBI was investigating, and he was going 55 gallons, it's a lot of sulfuric acid, and he was going to dispose of all these bodies. That's a lot of bodies, a lot of sulfuric acid, and they would see traces of this all over the place. Or was it because he was on an island and he needed this sulfuric acid to do reverse osmosis at the desalination plant on Little St. James Island? The island lacked access to municipal water supplies and relied on seawater desalination for potable water, irrigation, pools, and other needs. Sulfuric acid is commonly used in such a system for pH adjustment. So maybe it was used for that. So once again, let's see how this plays out and let's see how it goes, because again, you would probably see the evidence of all this, because again, where do you dispose of all this would be evidence of something, because you just can't get rid of all the bodies. So most likely it was probably used for the water treatment system. Now, the other thing that we could see is that Savannah Guthrie, and we mentioned this before, her mother went missing. Trump, has the FBI and others looking for her. And Savannah Guthrie put out another message letting everyone know that, they're still looking and the clock is ticking down. They haven't paid the ransom, which is kind of interesting. Why haven't they said, okay, let's pay the ransom. Let's get her back. And that Savannah Guthrie, she interviewed Virginia Giuffre in September of 2019. It was Guthry's first television interview regarding her allegations against Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew. And she was the one that interviewed Virginia, which is very, very interesting. So what does this mean? Is this a message? Is the deep state player saying, listen, the Epstein stuff didn't go the way we thought it was going to go. And if you start reporting on this, if any of the reporters start reporting on this, we'll come after your family. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, there's many different scenarios that this could be, but it's very, very interesting that this is connected. And once again, let's say it was a family member that decided to take Nancy. Now, the world is getting more unstable and chaotic every day. It seems like everywhere you look, there's another crisis, controversy, conflict, or a catastrophe. You can't control what happens out there, but you can control how you prepare for it. You can make sure that no matter what happens, you have the basics covered in case one of these disasters reaches your doorstep. Things like having enough food to eat when the shelves are empty. And when it comes to my family food security, I trust my Patriot Supply. They've helped millions of Americans get prepared, and they have over 90,000 five-star reviews. Right now, you can get their best-selling 3-month emergency supply for $100 off. My Patriot Supply almost never offers a deal like this, so take advantage. Go to preparewithx22.com. This food kit gives you 2,000 calories a day, lasts up to 25 years, and best of all, it's $100 off for a limited time. Go to preparewithx22.com and get yours right now. That's preparewithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Guthrie, they would probably just pay the ransom and then, get the family member arrest him. Or did the family member have an argument with Nancy and by accident she was killed and they hid the body? Maybe. I mean, there's many different scenarios, but when you look at the Epstein stuff, it's very, very interesting. So let's see how this all plays out in the end, because the clock is definitely ticking down right now in regards to the ransom. Now, the other thing that we could see is since the Epstein stuff came out and a lot of people are being named in it, did you notice something very interesting? Well, Braveheart did, and said Epstein files released rape, torture, and murder of children. And all the celebrities at the Grammys only mentioned was ICE. Don't you find that interesting? that they weren't for the children. They weren't for the human trafficking, child trafficking. All they could do is say, hey, we don't like ICE because they're removing the pedos, the criminals, the terrorists, the rapists, but we like the people in the Epstein files. I mean, really think about this for a second. This should tell you everything you need to know right there. Now, you could see that the world now is changing. You could see Trump has had the president of Honduras to Mar-a-Lago. You could see a lot of the countries now are leaning right, and the left is losing their grip, especially in South America, out in the Middle East, and many other places. And one of the places is like Japan. Geiger Capital put this out and said, Japan just sent an historic message. New right-wing prime minister just won a landslide in their parliamentary election. She's anti-illegal immigration, wants to maintain Japanese core culture, and is a China hawk. Japan has given her a sweeping mandate. Trump responds to Prime Minister of Japan and says the following: congratulations to the Prime Minister and her coalition on a landslide victory in today's very important vote. She is highly respected and a very popular leader. She's bold and wise decision to call for an election paid off big time. Her party now runs the legislature, holding an historic 2/3 supermajority, the first time since World War II. It was my honor to endorse you and your coalition. I wish you great success in passing your conservative peace through strength agenda. The wonderful people of Japan who voted with such enthusiasm will always have my strong support. President DJT. Now she has control of the country. What is Trump trying to do here? He's trying to get control of the country, and he needs control of the House and the Senate to move to the second part of the plan to bring down the entire deep state system. But you could see across the world, what is Trump doing right now? He's bringing down the deep state system. And think about it. He has put a embargo on the oil coming out of Venezuela. There is no drug trafficking. There's no human trafficking. So the money is not flowing out of Venezuela. He has tariffs on Cuba right now and put an embargo on anyone, or place sanctions and tariffs on anyone selling oil to Cuba. And Cuba is in a very, very tough situation right now. Cuba's government says international airlines can't refuel on the island nation starting on Monday. Cuban authorities issued an official notice to airmen over the weekend, warning that kerosene shortages are affecting all of Cuba's international airports. The notice is good for 1 month, meaning international planes won't be able to refuel in Cuba before March 11th. So, after the U.S. captured Maduro, Trump signed an executive order at the end of January imposing tariffs on imported goods from nations that supply oil to Cuba. Trump has called Cuba a failed nation, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the Trump administration would love to see the regime change there. Now, once again, the deep state players tried to get Marco Rubio to say that Trump was going to come in and change the entire government. Well, did he do that in Venezuela? No, he removed the individual that was illegally elected, and there was a warrant out for his arrest, and removed him. The government stayed intact. Trump now is working with that government. He didn't put a puppet government in place. The same thing is going to happen in Cuba, and I do believe the same thing is going to happen in Iran. I do believe there will be so much pressure on these two countries that those individuals that are running the country most likely will have to step down, and all those people that they threw into prison who oppose them, they will be let out to run against them. Now, again, everything is not perfect, like in Venezuela. You could see they don't want this still to happen. But I do believe there's going to be a lot of pressure on those individuals within Venezuela that they will have to do what President Trump says and have a fair election. The same in Cuba, same in Iran. Now, Iran might be a little bit different because we could see that Trump is bringing in the armada, bringing in heavy equipment, because, again, he is now flexing his muscles and basically playing chess with Iran. Okay, it's your move. Let's see what you do. We'll have to see how that all plays out. But I do believe in the end, Trump is going to win and the people of Iran are going to win. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that the second family arrived in Armenia, the first ever visit to the country by a sitting U.S. president or vice president. So that's absolutely incredible. And the other thing that's very interesting is Trump had the leaders of Europe in his office, and he released a picture on Truth. And while they were sitting around his desk in the Oval Office, he had a map up of Canada, United States, and Greenland, and everything was the American flag. Was he trolling them while they sat there? Absolutely. Absolutely incredible. Now, the other thing that's very interesting, and you have to remember, the deep state players, they try to create a one world government. Yes, when you heard New World Order, that's what they were trying to do. Yes, the UN was part of it. The UN was going to control everything around the world as the government. When you hear all the organizations that they created, the World Bank, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, all of these different entities were set up to control the world. So you had health, you had the economics, you had the bank, you had the government, which is the United Nations. So they were setting up a one world government structure. Trump shut all that down. He is no longer funding the UN. We have removed ourselves from the World Health Organization, and no money is going to the World Economic Forum. And what's very interesting is that Marco Rubio wanted the flag back from the World Health Organization, and they didn't want to give it back. U.S. Mission General put this out and said, U.S., UN, Geneva, and our Marine detachment are in possession of the American flag that hung at the WHO. The flag dedicated to the American lives lost during COVID is on its way back to the U.S., says Secretary Rubio. Wall Street Maverick responds to this, says, the World Health Organization refused to return the U.S. flag to Rubio after President Trump withdrew from the organization. Trump sent the U.S. Marines to capture the flag. The WHO claimed they had not approved the U.S. withdrawal. Secretary Rubio said, F around, find out. They don't tell us if we can leave or we could stay. Nobody controls the United States of America. The people control it, not an outside entity. And you can see this is what they've been trying to do for a very long time, but no more. And you can see all these individuals that they infiltrated our country with. They're trying to basically reshape the country. And I think it's becoming clearer and clearer every single day, because all these individuals, who do they support? They support the illegal people that came into this country. They support the pedos, the terrorists, the human traffickers, the child traffickers, the rapists, you name it. They support all of that. So when people use common sense, it's going to be very, very easy to make a decision on who to vote for. Wall Street Apes put this out and said, this is a Democrat candidate for governor of California. When I am governor, I will restore universal health care for all, including undocumented immigrants in the state of California, because we know that health care is right. We will abolish ICE. We will create a pathway to citizenship. And right now, I have legislation that puts a tax on any single company in California that does business with ICE and ICE detention centers. Free health care to illegals. Give citizenship to all illegals. Punish any business who supports immigration enforcement. Democrats are no longer Democrats. They're Marxist communists. Then we have Texas Democrat Representative Gene Wu. The Muse put this out. Calls on Democrats to obstruct justice and harass federal workers. So basically, he is an immigrant in this country. He was born in China. He came to this country when he was younger. And it looks like he's following the policies of China. So that's very, very interesting, because Texas Representative Gene Wu called on Democrats to grow their insurgency against the federal government and for the genocide of white Americans. Wu is a product of the Chinese Communist Party. Very, very interesting. So he was born in China. He immigrated into the United States with his family when he was young. Very interesting. So once again, if you're in America, you're for America. And you can see that all these people, they have infiltrated this country. So when they're campaigning and they're out there, listen to their policies very closely. First of all, you know they're going to lie to you. I mean, look what happened out in Virginia. I mean, they just reversed everything, and they just made Virginia look like California, made it look like Washington, Oregon, New York. It's actually getting even worse there. And when you look at California, you could see Newsom, he's in a tough position right now. He's trying to convince people that this high-speed train is going to happen. It's been happening for 20 years. They haven't built really anything. If you really look at it, it should have been completed already. Where has the billions and billions of dollars gone? There should be a major investigation there. But this is what his press office put out. High-speed rail means no TSA lines, no removing your shoes, just fast, clean travel. While Texas canceled its project, California keeps building. 463 miles are now ready for construction. We passed the hardest part and we're at the finish. We're finishing the job. You haven't even started the job. And once again, he keeps trying to convince everyone, we haven't stopped this. We've been working on this for 20 years, and we just need a little bit more money. Well, what's very interesting is that TSA decided to respond to this and said, congratulations, Governor Newsom. 463 miles ready for construction. Maybe someday it will join the 20,000 plus miles of passenger rail we already secure. Meanwhile, Americans who don't fly private jets have kept their shoes on at TSA checkpoints since July. Enjoy your next flight. Absolutely. And once again, you could see the deep state players. They're just showing everyone that they're just money laundering. They don't complete any projects whatsoever. And now you could see Eric Swalwell, which we reported on a little while back. He lied to the American people. He said his residence now is in D.C., not in California, which raises a lot of questions. Can he run for office? Trump, he put this out and said, California governor race thrown into chaos as Democrat candidate Eric Swalwell is accused of lying about living in state. So yeah, this needs to be investigated. Something just doesn't seem right. And if you notice, all these D's, they lie, and they lie. Just like Ilhan Omar, she has been lying and covering up for the fraud in Minnesota. And I don't even call it fraud anymore. This is a criminal operation. And yes, we should demand reparations from the entire Somali people because they've been stealing from the people of this country. They should return this money. Give it back to us. It doesn't belong to you. But Representative James Comer put this out and said, I'm demanding financial information from companies linked to Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar's husband. His companies reportedly went from $51,000 to $30 million in 1 year with zero investor information. So we want to know who's funding this and who's buying access. Remember, look at the spouses. That's where the money laundering is. And think about it. Trump's tax case was brought up to the Supreme Court. Now we can look at the spouses' businesses. We could look at the spouses' foundations. And when you start to look at this, you can see this is where the money flows. You see, the individuals keep their tax returns very, very clean, but their businesses, their foundations, that's where the dirt is. And you have to look at what the spouses are doing. And now Representative James Comer is doing exactly that. And now we're going to find out the truth. Just like we did with Biden, just like we're seeing with Clinton, and the rest. Now, we could see that Chuck Schumer, he is trapped in the entire body cam argument. Remember, going back to George Floyd, they wanted the body cams. Remember, they controlled the agencies. They were able to release certain body cams and keep other body cams hidden. Now, they don't control those agencies. And now, with what is happening with ICE, Secretary Noem says everyone needs to have a body cam. Now, Schumer is saying, well, we shouldn't have these because it's an invasion of privacy. So that's very interesting. Once they lose control, they don't want the truth coming out. But once again, this is not going to work. And now they don't have a leg to stand on. This is going to be very, very interesting. So translation in all this, the body cams aren't going to help their narrative of the mostly peaceful protesters. They're going to show just how much these folks have been harassing and attacking ICE and other federal agents, because when the video comes out and it shows that the ICE agents are just sitting there and these people are throwing things at them, yelling at them, spitting on them, the people are going to see the truth. And once again, everything the D's are trying to do is falling apart. Just like those people that are brainwashed who think the people of this country are on their side. When you look at athletes, when you look at the athletes that are representing this country on the Olympics, these people think that the country's with them. So when they say, oh, I don't like America, I don't represent America, they think the people are going to applaud them. No, the people are completely against them. The people of this country love this country. The people who have been brainwashed, they don't like it because they've been brainwashed. And the others, they're not from this country. They infiltrated this country. And the deep state has been driving this agenda for a very long time. Trump has some words for the U.S. Olympic skier, Hunter Hess. He says he's a real loser. Says he doesn't represent this country in the current Winter Olympics. If that's the case, he shouldn't have tried out for the team, and it's too bad he's on it. Very hard to root for someone like this. Make America great again. And yesterday, cynical Publius, and I completely agreed with him, that these people represent America. And this is a privilege. It's not a right to be on the Olympic team. And free speech does not apply to this because you have free speech against the government. And again, this is not a right to be on the Olympic team. It's a privilege. Cynical Publius explains. So the below post has generated a bunch of subtards thinking they have me with a gotcha. But, Cynical Publius, I thought you supported free speech. Oh my, people have such a hard time thinking things through. The First Amendment protects free speech from government interference. I wholly and 100% support the right of those two American-hating Olympians to say whatever they want. And if the government were to attempt to prevent them from saying what they want, I would gladly give my life to defend their constitutional rights. But nowhere does the Constitution guarantee the right to say what you want and not get kicked off the Olympic team as a result. Free speech is a right. Being an Olympian is a privilege. I'm sorry that some of you lack the intellectual clarity to discern the difference. And he's absolutely right. It's a very, very big difference. And the people don't have to go along with this. Remember, you're there. It's a privilege to represent the people of this country. And if the people don't like this, they're going to reject you. And if you can't handle it, get off the team. It's that simple. And now, Hunter Hess is now backtracking after whining that he has mixed emotions about representing America in the Olympics. So now he's trying to backtrack out of all of this. Is it going to work? He's already said his piece. The people know who he really is. Now, the other thing that's very interesting, and we saw this a couple days ago, and we need sometimes to wait to see how this plays out. A lot of people were saying, oh, Eagle Ed Martin was relieved of his duties. He's no longer in a certain position. Ed Martin and Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi, they're against each other. Well, it's all fake news. How do we know this? Well, Eagle Ed Martin told us. All this chatter about Todd Blanche and me is fake news. I'm proud to work for Trump with Pam and Todd for a historic year of Trump mercy. 2025 Trump pardons gave victims of weaponization life. Let's talk more about what the president's done and what he'll do in the 250th year. And he's absolutely right. So all this going back and forth, MAGA's breaking up, MAGA's going after each other, it's all fake. People make this stuff up. Trump has the Patriots in the positions he wants them in. And they're doing what needs to be done. And people, for some reason, are trying to break them apart. And yes, it's even those individuals who say they're MAGA, who say they're for this country. But again, they're listening to these anonymous sources where they think they have the inside story when they really don't. And they're fed this information, and later you find out it's all fake. And this is how they play certain people. So be careful in what you're hearing. Sometimes take a step back and let's see how it plays out before saying, oh my God, MAGA's breaking up right now. Because most of the stories that we've seen are completely and utterly fake. And this is why I think the Trump administration, with Susie Wiles and the rest, when the information came out that Susie Wiles was talking about other people, this is why they got together and said, listen, yeah, we talk about each other. Who cares? We support each other, though. We're part of the Trump administration. We're all together on this. You don't think the deep state players have been trying to, push certain information with anonymous sources into certain individuals to try to get them to question everything and to try to put it out there and try to make everyone believe that everything's breaking up. Well, it's not. The people are together on this. Trump has the people the Patriots in the position that he needs because we're going after the deep state players. And think about what the FBI 1.0 has done. They basically were preparing for Trump and the people to have a civil war over the election because they knew they cheated in the election. They knew they overthrew the United States government. They put up the fences because they thought Trump was going to come with the military and the people were going to storm D.C., which they wanted. They wanted a civil war. And you could see the FBI 1.0 before Trump, they were planning on this because the FBI conducted a tabletop exercise in the summer of 2020 that imagined what sort of violence might ensue in a contested presidential election that year, devising strategies like undercover informants and mass prosecutions for minor crimes that it would later use with the January 6th Capitol riot. So FBI Director Kash Patel turned over the long secret memos to Congress last week, providing fresh evidence that federal law enforcement was actually concerned for months ahead of time about the potential for violence in the aftermath of the 2020 election. Why were they so concerned? Because they thought when they cheat in the election, Trump, the people, would be so pissed off. We would run into the Capitol, into D.C., and have a civil war. The memo showed the Bureau's Boston office led the tabletop exercise and cold open source intelligence on the potential for violence from both left-leaning anarchists, Antifa, and right-leaning extremists, which really means we the people. So, yes, Antifa was going to kick it off, and they were hoping that we'd have a civil war. Now, I do believe during this period of time, Trump kept the people back. He got to the speech late. He went long in the speech. He didn't want most of the people over there because they had to walk over there, and it took a very long time to get over there. So there were just a handful of people that were there already. And the deep state players couldn't get the civil war off the ground. They didn't get the insurrection and the bloodshed like they wanted. And you could see they're now panicking because think about it, all this evidence is coming out. We have the Fulton County evidence. They know that Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, they're going to basically produce how they did it, who they were coordinating with. And when you start to put it together with, let's say, the networks where they hid the Hunter Biden information, the laptop, this was all done to manipulate the elections. So in a bombshell revelation, CBS investigative journalist Catherine Herridge has gone public with explosive allegations that CBS executives deliberately buried the Hunter Biden laptop story and ordered her to wait until after the 2022 midterms to help the Democrat people. Elon Musk says CBS, prior to current ownership, engaged in deliberate election interference. So let's see, that was election interference. Then we had the mail-in ballots, the machines. That was election interference. So all of this now is building up. We're seeing election interference all over the place. And when you look at what happened during the elections in 2020, you can see when and how they dropped the mail-ins because it was very, very one-sided. And this is what the deep state players do. They have the networks. They're one-sided. The polls are one-sided. They hid the Hunter Biden laptop information because it's one-sided. And when you look at the election results, it was one-sided. Bill Milcher put this out and said, we knew it was stolen. We all knew. This post just nailed the biggest crime in American history. 138,000 votes in 2020 and 0 for Trump. Statistically impossible. So 138,000 ballots came in. Not one was for Trump. They stole the election in plain sight, then censored, arrested, indicted anyone who dared speak up. Pure tyranny. Now in 2026, the truth is exploding out. Trump vindicated, deep state exposed. These people were right all along. And yes, people are going to see this. And think about it. They used the Social Security numbers and they handed them out to illegals. Number one, to cheat in the election. Number two, they needed the Social Security numbers for money laundering. Elon explains, they never removed dead people from the Social Security because those identities kept other benefit payments flowing. And the second you mark them dead, all the money shuts off. Elon Musk says it's a rigged system, a loophole draining hundreds of billions from taxpayers. They also use it for what? To get people documentation to vote in the election if you have a Social Security number. This is why all those Social Security numbers were left. That's why those people that were 100, 110, 120, they'd never get rid of them. This is how the scam works. And now it's being exposed. And it's getting worse and worse for the deep state players. And you know what they don't want? They don't want the SAVE Act. Eric Doherty put this out and says, Representative Hakeem Jeffries has now admitted he's refusing to pass a law ensuring only citizens can vote in elections. He says that's not happening. Democrats admit they rely on voter fraud. Pass the Save America Act now. Absolutely. And think about it. Schumer and the rest of the Ds, they're saying that if you have voter ID, that is voter suppression. Let me translate that for you. Yes, it is voter suppression, but on their side. That's what they're talking about. When they say it's voter suppression, you're suppressing the votes of the illegals. You're suppressing the votes of their cheating system. So when they say voter suppression, they don't mean the people of this country. They don't mean the citizens of this country. What they're saying is you're suppressing the votes from the illegals that we brought in. That is what they're saying when they say voter suppression. Just like when they say democracy. They don't really mean democracy. They mean their system of money laundering, their system of cheating, their system. That's their democracy. And the people of this country, they're not on their side whatsoever. The Trump War Room put this out and says 71% of Democrats support voter ID laws. Listen to your voters, but they won't. You know why? Because they're part of the deep state system. The people of this country are not their constituents. Their constituents are the criminals behind the scenes. They listen to them. They do what they say, not what the people say. And you can see that Trump, he has declared war on the deep state. And Jim Ferguson lays it all out. Donald Trump has laid out the most aggressive plan ever proposed to dismantle Washington's permanent power structure and it targets the system at its roots. This isn't rhetoric, it's a blueprint. Trump says he will purge rogue bureaucrats by restoring presidential authority to fire them, clean house in national security and intelligence, ending political weaponization. Overhaul FISA courts, he says, were lied to and did nothing. Expose deep state spying and censorship through a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Declassify and release documents the public was never meant to see. Crack down on leakers colluding with legacy media with criminal charges where possible. Make inspector generals truly independent, no longer protecting the agencies they oversee. Audit intelligence agencies continuously to stop domestic spying and disinformation. Relocate up to 100,000 federal jobs out of Washington and into the real America. End the revolving door between regulators and the corporations they police. Push a constitutional amendment on congressional term limits. Trump's message is blunt. The unelected bureaucracy has ruled for too long. The surveillance state has gone unchecked. The people were cut out of their own government. This is a direct challenge to the system that spies, censors, leaks, lies, and protects itself. No reform, not tweaks, a full-scale dismantling. Washington is on notice. And he's absolutely right. Every step of the way, this is what Trump is doing. And what is the deep state trying to do? They're trying to stop him every step of the way. The problem, all they have left is one branch of the government. That's the judiciary. Those are the judges that can delay what is happening, but they can't stop it. Now, Trump is using this against the deep state players because every time they try to delay it, what happens? He appeals and he appeals and he appeals. He brings up the Supreme Court and he gets a ruling against them. These rulings can be used later on. He did this during his first term. He did it with his taxes. So once you have these rulings from the Supreme Court, the deep state players, the judiciary, the corrupt judiciary, doesn't have a leg to stand on. And once we win the House and Senate, that branch will be dismantled just like everything else. And we will have those individuals that represent the people, that support the people, that support the rule of law, that will do the right thing. Now, once again, this is what one of the last fights is about. Because once the deep state players lose the judicial branch, they lost the executive, they lost the judicial. What do they have left? They don't have the House and Senate because they lost that too, which means all they have left now is maybe local government, maybe, and the fake news. So will they do everything they possibly can to try to stop what is about to happen? Absolutely. Is Trump counting on this? Absolutely. What better way to show the deep state players, are completely against America, against the American people, than to unleash chaos against the people of this country? What better way to show the people that they're the ones who cheat in the election? They're the ones who try to stop the elections. They're the ones who try to stop what the people really want. What better way but to show the people? And that's exactly what Trump is doing. He's showing the people the truth. Remember, this is real life. This is really happening. It's not a game. And yes, it might get scary as we approach the midterms. But remember, Trump has the Patriots in trusted positions. And as he shows the world the truth, the deep state players, they become more and more panicked every step of the way. And they do stupid things. And Trump's going to count on them to do stupid things. Makes it a lot easier to catch them in all of this. And I do believe in the end, the people are going to see it all. And once they see it all, it's game over for all of them. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.